It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Colin Thompson. Colin is a dairy farmer from Cowra, where him and his family have a 320 dairy cow farm. And he's going to talk to us about how to get more than 40 litres of milk out of a cow with homegrown feed. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Sabrina. And thank you to DRF for the invitation to be here today. And I guess forage quality is one of my pet topics. It's something I'm quite passionate about, and really I can't think of an easier way to improve farm profitability simply by improving forage quality. So my presentation today is really about how we manage our forages to maintain a high production herd regardless of the seasonal conditions. Obviously our system, like some previous speakers, is not a grazing or a pasture-based system, but most of our forages are conserved as silage. But hopefully there can be some take-home messages. Perhaps it's just this little motto that little things matter. Before I get into the forages, perhaps just a little overview of our operation. I grew up just a little north of here at Narooma. We farmed there on a small coastal dairy farm I was a third generation, but in 2000 we decided to relocate to the Central West. And doing that, I guess we had to navigate our way through a few issues. We bumped straight into the millennium drought out there with severe water shortages, low milk prices, and also some planning issues that we had to work our way through, which made setting up a new farm just a little bit more unique, I guess. However, looking back, I think in those years I learnt more about the value of high quality forages than at any other time. It was during those years that I realised that we had to develop a system of delivering high quality forages to our herd regardless of the seasonal conditions or the time of the year. I had to do that to be viable. We were obviously committed, highly committed, probably more than up to the hilt, and we just needed to be sustainable, we needed to be viable, and so quality forages played a significant part in that. Our development, it was a staged process over the last 18 years or so, but today we milk 320 Holsteins on 3X to produce around 4.5 million litres a year. The milking herd and the dry cows and most of the heifers are all housed in a freestall barn, a naturally ventilated barn with fans and feed line soakers and lighting, all to assist in cow comfort, cow cooling and ventilation. Our farm size is 370 odd hectares. It's predominantly Lachlan River alluvial country. We irrigate 160 hectares with centre pivot and also with hand shift lines, and we have about 150 hectares of dryland cropping. I just will touch on our effluent system because it is part of our cropping program, and so obviously housing cows generates lots of effluent, but we see that now as a valuable resource for our cropping program. We, like others, we separate the fibrous part of our effluent, and we compost that as well, along with any bedding, waste feed, even dead carcasses, all get composted, and this goes into a very valuable soil building compost which is spread mainly on our corn ground. We also desludge our ponds twice a year, spreading around 2 million litres of sludge across 50 hectares, and this ground is used for growing cereal crops with no other fertiliser added. The third product is water, of course, and we irrigate that out on cereal crops. This is a cereal crop that will be taken through to grain. So we grow 3 main forage crops. Plant about 37 hectares of maize early October, We typically, over the last 4 or 5 years, have averaged around 25 tonnes of dry matter, using between 6 and 9 megalitres of water per hectare, just depending on the seasonal conditions. Our maize is planted with this strip till machine, which I don't know whether you can see that there too clearly, but it's deep ripping, it's putting urea down, it's cultivating a little strip, it's rolling that strip, and then the corn planter comes along and puts a starter fertiliser in and plants a seed all in one pass. The strip till machine just basically leaves the interrow area uncultivated, untouched, leaving the soil residue there and good moisture, and also gives an excellent germination. Our second main crop is lucerne. We typically irrigate around 110 hectares of lucerne, cut it up to 7 or 8 times. Their lucerne stands usually last for about 4 years. And there's no fertiliser added to the lucerne other than a little bit of starter at planting. Just add water and it keeps growing. Our lucerne usually averages around 20 tonnes of dry matter to the hectare across the season. The first 2 cuts are harvested as silage and they go to the dairy. But we also grow a surplus of lucerne, usually sell up to 1,200 tonnes of lucerne hay a year. This has been a bit of a diversion for the dairy. It fits well with the dairy business, but it also provides extra income. But more importantly, it just helps drought-proof our operation. It just gives us a good backup and an extra food there that, if we do run out of water, if we do run out of food, we know we've got that lucerne there on hand. Cereals is our third crop that we grow. Cereals is just used for our dry cows and our young stock. We don't feed cereals to the milking herd. But this particular crop here, it's a kind of advantage having our son works in a seed production farm, and we do kind of get the latest varieties that are available. We've had this one for a couple of years now. It's a variety called Bennett. It's a wheat variety, a forage wheat variety, and it really has amazed us with its yields and quality. This particular crop was sown in May and harvested as silage just a few weeks ago. That'll go through now till regrow for spring. We'll get another cut of spring, taking the yield of this crop to around 13 tonnes of dry matter per hectare. And that crop is also grown on the corn area, taking the total production of that block to just under 40 tonnes dry matter. Straw also is another product that we use a fair bit of on our dairy. We use it in the dry cow rations and the transition rations, and also the milkers can at times receive up to half a kilo of straw, which we bar from our cereal crops. So getting to storage and feed out, this is where the little things really do count. That's where we've made progress over the years, I believe, to just improve our practices to ensure that we get a really high quality forage to feed out to our cows. So all our silages are stored in concrete bunkers. The walls are lined with plastic. We cover the top with the oxygen barrier plus plastic and tyres, and as you can see, the front is, we use a shaver on the front just to prevent any spoilage in the stack and reduce any possibility of feed contamination. Making our sizes, really packing is king. It's something that our consultant has really enforced upon us over the years, and we're really seeing the benefits. And I believe there's 4 things required for really good packing. Obviously, one is the weight of the tractor, but the second one is a fill rate. And we determine our fill rate not by the size of the chopper, but by the weight of the pack tractor. And someone worked out a little formula for that, but it means that this tractor that weighs around 24 tonnes, we can have a fill rate of about 65 tonnes per hour, and we stick to that just to make sure that we get a really good pack on our silages. The third thing is moisture, and we monitor that really closely when we're chopping. We don't start until the moisture's right. We monitor it throughout the day and just keep our moisture right. This is cereal silage being packed there, and we would aim for about 30% dry matter on our cereal silages. And the fourth thing is chop length. We usually chop a theoretical cut length of about 19 millimetres just to make sure that we get the ideal pack. So bunker management, it's really key to quality silage. We only uncover enough for a maximum of 2 days. You can see the front there is sealed with the gravel bags just to stop any spoilage on the unused silage. This is where little things really matter, and the thing I like about little things is they make a difference, but there's often a very little price tag attached to them. And sorry, a glitch. Yep. Corn silage. Some of the main things we are concerned about with our corn silage is obviously the moisture. We target between 34 and 36% dry matter, and also processing the kernels. We want no unprocessed kernels in the silage. We want the stalks completely busted up. One thing that we've been doing the last few years is starting to raise the front of our chopper, and we're now chopping corn at around 300 millimetres high, just to leave that woody, low digestibility stalk in the paddock and improve the quality of the silage. So we monitor our dry matters closely on all our forages, and every week our feed man takes samples and does dry matter tests. These tests are recorded and put into TMR Tracker. TMR Tracker is a program we use. It links the office PC to the feed mixer, and it's really improved our accuracy on feeding. It not only does the rations, it calculates the dry matter intake of the herd. It also tells us exactly what went into the mixer and where the feed was fed. So just a very useful tool in improving our feeding accuracy. This is Matt. He's our main feeding man. He's the most important man on the farm, as a fact he's well aware of. But you know, the best feeding system is only as good as the person doing it. And recently, Matt and his offsider, his backup, attended a training school just for feeders. I didn't go; just the feeders went. And I can assure you that Matt is completely dialed in to what it takes for a consistent ration, an accurate ration, and a ration that's free from feed contaminants. We have regular team meetings on the dairy, and we often discuss feeding protocols, feeding routines, any issues that come up, and just to ensure that we're really not missing anything, that we're getting the most out of our forages. So, feeding tests. Every month we would sample our forages and have them analysed, and I'm not going to tell you here that I understand or can interpret everything on that feed test. But there is one thing, there's one number there that's quite important to me, and it's that one with the red circle there, relative feed quality, and that's just an index from various parts of that feed test, and gives me an index of how good that silage is in comparison to the last lot or the next lot. So this is lucerne size there. It has a relative feed quality of 168. Another test there, the same lucerne silage, not the same lucerne silage, but an early spring cuts lucerne silage has a relative feed value of 224. So quite a significant difference, even though the other one was quite good silage. But when you compare the two, there was about 2.5 litre difference in the two silages. So I just think we can. That's why I say there's low-hanging fruit in feed quality. It's easier to get it right. The rewards are there. So feed planning, I think Yanni mentioned planning, and feed planning is pretty important to us. And so I've developed this feed plan that I've had for quite a few years. It's just a simple spreadsheet that we use, and we simply list our feeds down on the spreadsheet. We just add in each group of cows and the number of cows and their diet, milkers, dry cows and heifers, the transition cows, the young heifers and even the calves. And then we simply get a total amount of feed that we need for those for the farm to run. And I guess we know the saying, failing to plan. Well, in this, if we fail to plan, sure enough, we're going to run out of food sooner or later. So we can plan, we use this feed planner, and we look forward, 18 months, 2 years ahead, and so we know just, how many hectares we've got to plant, what varieties we're going to plant, and what yields we need. We can build in there a shrink and wastage and a bit of buffer, and just to make sure that we have enough feed on hand at all times to fully feed our cows. So what has this strategy meant for us in the last 8 or 9 years? You can see our production there in 2011 was 3.3 million litres. During that, or about that time, was when we introduced the cows into freestall. So there was some benefits there from cow comfort. That production has grown to nearly 4.6 million litres, nearly a 40% increase. And while there's been some benefits from cow comfort and that sort of thing, I really attribute a lot of that production increase to feed quality and the way that we've been able to develop our feed management, just to hone the skills of our feeders and to improve the quality of the feed that the cows consume. So I guess that pretty much wraps up my presentation, but I think there's this belief that intensive systems are really about high capital outlay and high cost rations, but really to me it's about getting more from less. It's about doing the little things that matter and getting right protocols and giving attention to detail. That's where the production gains come from. It's about providing a high quality homegrown feed rations daily to maximise production potential in a viable and sustainable way. Thank you, Sabrina.
That was a fantastic presentation. Thanks, Colin, and thanks for sharing your story of your really immaculate and farm and all the technicality that you put into it. It's really interesting. I'd like to open up the room to questions. If anyone has questions for Colin, please raise your hand. Yep, we've got one over here.
Thanks, Colin. Thought that was excellent. Really interested in your high chop corn. Have you got any ambitions to do anything from the remaining stalk? Are you planning to harvest that at some point or use it for bedding or the like?
So the corn stubble, you mean, that we leave behind? No, we really just turn that back in. It's all part of our soil building process, so I think there's a benefit. There's probably more benefit from that to turn it back into the soil than actually put it into the silage bunker. So we do turn that back in, and then we, a month later we come across and plant our cereal silages with that there.
I had one more, if that's the right one.
Yeah.
Cole, my other one was around your silage faces. They're immaculate, and I think with a walled bunk system, I see that as being pretty challenging to manage at times. What's the secret to getting that right and having a high quality feed coming out of that bunk?
Yeah, it's really comes down to practice. I mean, it's about developing the skills of our feeding guys. They not only understand what they need to do, they know why, and they know what contaminated feed does to a high-producing cow. I'm sure we've all experienced that. But it's really something that we have developed over the years to be able to just shave enough feed for the day, and that really gets back to operator skill. But we continually develop that and continually monitor it, and that's the idea of our team meetings. Is there any way we can do things better, cleaner? Cleanliness, to me, it's it's really important about not only our silage areas, but our commodity shed. They're regularly swept up and just kept clean because, yeah, anything that goes into the feed that's not feed is going to make a cow sick.
Great. Yep. Another microphone coming to you.
Jane Sherborne. Colin, moving from the coast to an inland position would have taken a fair bit of forward planning. Is there anything that you noticed that was so different from the coast to inland that you learnt, or you learnt secondhand?
You probably should have asked Jane, was there anything the same? Would have been a shorter answer. But it was a totally different ball game, really. I kind of thought and so, yeah, it was something that I planned. We were working on plans for about 5 years, actually, before we moved. But I don't think any amount of planning actually prepared me for what we actually got ourselves into. For one example, we thought that we would go out there and grow ryegrass, not for grazing, but for conserving the silage, and we persevered with that for a few years until we finally realised that ryegrass is a pasture, it's not a crop, and we moved on to lucerne and cereals and corn. So, look, there was a lot of things that we learned. We had developed on the coast. We had developed a feeding system there that, yeah, we did get reasonably good production on that system. It was pretty much a TMR system there, but quite labour intensive, quite small scale, and quite high costs. So moving out to the Central West, we actually started with a clean sheet. The farm was bare when we bought it, and so we planned and developed everything from scratch. And so that was a good, I think that was good to be able to do that, to develop the system that we wanted. I certainly had in mind where I wanted to get to. It took a long time to get there. There were a few issues that we came across that we couldn't foresee, such as the planning issues. That was quite a nightmare for about 7 years. But also, drought, having to manage water shortages and things like that, develop crops. And I could soon see that if we didn't develop a system that could provide homegrown feeds consistently year-round, we were going to fail. And so that's where our focus was.
Thank you, Colin. Thanks, Colin. That was a really great presentation. Everyone join me in thanking Colin.